Well, hello, Holly.
Hello, Dave.
What's going on?
I'm feeling very caffeined and sugared up again.
That's good. We got Primos today.
Yes, we have Primo's Donuts.
We move.
Another of our favorites.
Yes, we're doing the world tour of donuts.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome to What Difference Does It Make?
Yeah, it's very exciting. We were just actually talking about how amazing our intro music is. And that is by Joel Graves, New Monkey Studios, formerly of Everest and Early Mart.
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
We love our music.
It's always amazing to hear it. And it's one of my favorite things about our podcast is the music. And we got to get them into the studio.
Yes, we do.
All right. But right now we have someone even better. Not even better. We have someone pretty amazing.
Joel.
Yeah.
Somebody who complimented the music, which is how we started discussing it.
True. This is Craig Rosen.
Yeah, there's no way I'm better than that guy that made that music.
I know. I don't even know why I said that.
We have a different area of expertise.
Yeah, no.
You know what? When they're in this, when we get them in the room, I always compliment them as the best. This is the greatest guest we've ever had. So
yeah, okay.
I'm glad you're out with that. You're upfront about it.
Yeah. So yes, we do have Craig Rosen, the greatest guest who's ever been on our podcast this week. And we're very happy to have him. Yeah. I looked on his website. Craig Rosen is an editor, writer, author, music geek, gother, golf.
Do we have golfer.
Wait. What website?
I looked on your clippings.
Oh, okay.
So this is what you wrote. You are a writer, so you put this down.
Yeah.
Editor, writer, author, music geek, golfer, swimmer, spinning instructor, yogi. Lifelong Dodger fan, skater, lifeguard, husband, father, no particular order, in parentheses.
Boy, that sounds really geeky.
A lot of stuff.
That sounds really geeky read out loud. I'm embarrassed.
No, it doesn't. Actually, there's so much to latch onto.
But it's all
here.
True.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing about what I just said that's falsehood.
It's all true. I'm busy. I try to stay busy. Yeah.
Good. We all do.
In fact, I think I have this.
Wait, remember?
And I'm off mic.
There you go. That's right.
I leaned over to get my wallet out, but I have this fortune in my wallet near my driver's license, and it says something, and I'm off mic again. Yeah. I'm terrible. I'm fired. I thought I was the best guest this week, and
He's
it turns
a writer.
out that I'm not.
He is a writer.
Exactly. You are busy, but you are happy.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, we know you're busy.
It's a fortune.
Yeah,
it's got to be true.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go into what brought Craig happiness to this
right
point.
Right now, I'm happy. I had half of a chocolate donut, so I'm drinking coffee.
Only 10 more waiting for you right here.
Then I won't be so happy.
The crash will happen after the podcast.
I know we're here to talk about music, but since you made that introduction, there are so many other things that I want to ask you about, like the yogi and the spin instructor stuff. And especially how you make that transition. And I know we can get to it, but I'm afraid we run out of time because we talk so much. But we're not going to forget those.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The spin instructor thing does involve music, but
your own. You get to choose your playlist.
Yeah. Little sidetrack. Since we were talking donuts, I have to say that I did work at a donut shop at Foster's Donuts in Arleta.
Shout out to Foster's.
In I think it was 81. Yeah.
Did you make the donut? Did you wake up at 4 a.m. to make it?
No. I worked like in the afternoon.
It was in high school.
I put some of the frosting on some of them. It was after let's see, I'm trying to remember the order. Okay, I got a job at Fedco, which was pretty awful.
Yes.
But then I quit Fedco because I was hired at the new Gemco. In Northridge, in the grocery department, a highly sought after job because you could join the union.
Oh.
But the new Gemco in Northridge wasn't as successful as they thought it would be, and they hired too many people, and the bastards laid me off before I could join the union. So then I had my rebound job was Foster's Donuts. It was rough. It was brutal.
Hey, you were making $3.35 an hour.
I was pissed off. I was a pissed off sort of punk rocker. I mean, it never really did I cut my hair, but never dyed it or never had a mohawk or anything like that. But, Did
you cut it for a job?
No, I cut it because I didn't want to be a hippie.
Yeah. Is that when you bought your Buzzcock shirt?
Yeah, about that time. Yeah.
Did you consider yourself? You were a skater, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Skater punk, is that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we use that term, together, but yeah, definitely. I got into punk rock through skateboarding. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was like we used to go to this place in Reseda.
Skatercross.
Yes, Skatercross. Broke my leg there. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like one day we were listening to Carry On My Wayward Son, and like the next day it was like Devo and stuff like that. It wasn't quite that dramatic, probably, but you know. And then, then you know, of course, you know, then came the Clash and the Sex Pistols and Black Flag and X and Buzzcocks and Circle Jerks, all that stuff.
So I think we should probably now, since we're talking music, talk about how, Craig, your jump from Foster's Freeze into your education and career.
I have to say, it's Foster's Donuts. Foster's
Donuts
is
the ice cream.
Is a completely different thing, but
Thank you for correcting.
I can go on millions of tangents, and thank you for that. I used to frequent a Foster's Freeze on Reseda Boulevard near the Record Trader.
Yep.
In
record store.
And near the country club.
Yeah. Oh, country club. Oh, I have country club stories.
Oh, good.
Because we've touched on the country club a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, that was where U2 played their first show, and Oingo Boingo played many times, and you saw probably your first show?
Well, not my first show, but that was the first time that I saw R.E.M. at the country club opening for the English Beat.
There you go. I did know
Save
that.
It for later.
Which brings us to that. I had no idea about that. Was that
save
some
it for later?
If you didn't know, there's no possible way we could have known.
Wait, is that for real, or is that like a thing after the fact, like some pornographic Weird Al thing?
No, we both saw it on the internet, so it must be true, right?
Oh, that Dave has talked about that?
Yeah.
I read it in an interview, but then again, could the interview have been... I don't know, but I read they were quotes from him that I thought were quotes from him.
It does have the just hold my hand while I come bit to a decision on this. Yeah. Did you not know that?
I didn't want to dig further because Holly you embarrasses easily.
You look shocked about that. That I was completely on board with and picked up on.
No.
But
see, that's
you didn't
outed
know
again.
that?
Outed again. No.
Okay.
Nope, I did not.
Yeah. Now, can you ever listen to the song the same way again?
No.
It's a great song. I like those sort of things. Those.
Yeah. Did you go to that show for the English Beat or for R.E.M.?
That's a good question. Probably for the English Beat, but I might have been aware of R.E.M. I'm not sure. Actually, I posted this recently. I'm not sure which came first. I discovered R.E.M. there were three things, and they might have all happened around the same time. One was Wolves Lower was a flexi disc that came with Trouser Press magazine, which I subscribed to at the time. And then I think I was probably contributing to the Sundial by then, but
that's the CSUN.
Yeah,
Cal State Northridge's
newspaper,
daily newspaper.
Yeah, and I figured I wasn't. I don't think I was on staff yet, but I think I figured out that records were going there, and I could go there and get them and take them. So I took Chronic Town. So right around
good choice.
Right around that time, all three things sort of happened, and then I became a huge fan. Yeah,
there you go.
of R.E.M. Yeah,
you guys have that R.E.M.
Craig literally wrote the book on R.E.M.
Yes.
Literally.
He did write a book on R.E.M.
One book, and it's, actually, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying a fact. And it's not.
Brag.
No, well, I don't know. The book, it could have been better. I mean, it was kind of rushed, and I wish I could write it again, but,
Can you do an update? Everyone updates their...
Well, actually, there's been one update, and I was going to say that a guy that, what's his name? Ale something. He's in Norway, and he's an incredible R.E.M. Peter Buck junkie, this guy, and he posted this photo of all of his R.E.M. books, and he had both copies of mine in there, and I said, "Oh, I'm honored that you have both of mine in that picture because I know you're a real fan." And and he wants me to do a new one too, and I would. It's just the publishers in London, in England, and my original contact isn't there anymore. I did propose doing a final update, but I didn't really hear back, but who knows? Yeah.
You could do post R.E.M. stuff too now. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Pete Buck is pretty prolific.
Oh, I know. It would go on forever.
Yeah.
You just need some people pushing you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would do it, but it's just, a question of like rights and everything, I mean, they own the rights and they probably have deals for the photos and everything. So I don't know how to go about doing that. I mean, the Billboard book, they gave me the rights back. So that's why I do that thing on the website.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So the book is R.E.M. Inside Out, the stories behind every song. You can get this for $39.40 on Amazon.
Yeah, the price varies. Sometimes sometimes you see it for over like $100. And there's different editions and different weird things about it because it came out in different territories under different publishers.
This I always go to the you got a lot of 5-star reviews. I always go to the 1-star review.
Oh, thanks.
Really?
Thanks. That one moron that said it would have been better.
See, he still knows. He knows.
It drives me crazy. That said it would have been better if you would have included the lyrics. Okay.
And then
it doesn't say, it's not a lyric book. That's something different. They do sell lyric books. You can buy that.
Exactly.
But that's not what it is.
Maybe that was an ex-girlfriend from high school or college or something that wrote that.
I don't think so.
I do remember, though, because, we didn't know any of the lyrics to R.E.M. songs. In one of my sister's magazines, her teen magazines, like Teen Beat or something, they had lyrics. And one of them had the lyrics for South Central Rain, which just blew my mind because like, oh my God, these are the actual lyrics. And that's how I memorized all the lyrics to that song.
What magazine was
that? It
that?
was like Teen Beat or
Tiger
something
Beat
like, something like that. It was weird that, I have no idea which magazine it is, but I do remember like actually seeing that and being like, inside the, there's Sean Cassidy and, whatever else was going on.
So hard to
and
picture
Duran and then R.E.M.
I could see, in a weird way, I could see that. They were good looking, Michael Stipe was gorgeous with his hair.
For sure.
I know there's like these fangirls and maybe fanboys that are still like wildly in love with him that I see on the internet. Yeah.
I think so. And I think even without hair, but I mean, back from, Teen Beat and 16 was another one of those magazines. They seem not heartthrobby enough. Yeah,
maybe too real, and they downplayed it and tried to ugly themselves up and everything. But and that's why we liked them.
They always said that about the music. This is completely different than what you'd expect. Like, all right, we're not going to play guitars. We'll do the mandolin, and we'll start. The bassist will play keyboards and the drummer will play bass, and we're going to mix it up, and then they get a number one, even though they try and ugly it up somehow.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story.
It is, and Craig tells it well.
You mentioned the other book too, or you mentioned the Billboard book. So tell us about the other book.
Oh well, the brilliant book. The thing that I love is his number one albums for what was it? Let's see.
It's the Billboard book of number one albums.
Does it look something like this?
That's actually it. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I did not even realize I have it, and I'm going to want you to sign this thing.
Oh, wow.
So we'll do that after the podcast. But
that'll be the $100 copy.
Yeah, but this. You have your number1albums.com. Is that based on your Billboard book?
Yeah, it's basically the entries. I scan them in and then repost them on like an anniversary. And then hope people will click on the Google ads so I can make a penny. I just actually hit the $100 threshold, but they had to confirm my tax information, so I haven't been paid yet.
Congratulations!
Stall
but
tactics.
I'm still like few $100s in the red, I'm sure. Because of that web attack, I had to hire a company to make my site. Yeah, nice. Be careful.
Oh,
okay. Be careful. I can tell you about that if you off mic.
Yeah, I want to know.
As long as we're talking number one out, this was an insane endeavor. This was when did you did this in what was it 90s? Like the mid 90s,
early 90s, and I was working at Billboard at the time, and it seemed like at that period I was writing a bunch of stories about the latest modern rock band to cross over to the mainstream.
Because it was the early 90s. I mean, what a great time for
like,
that.
The Cure, The Church, and, all of the bands that I liked, and I liked doing that. But I thought, hey, maybe I can do something. I can learn a little bit, go back in history. And there was a guy that worked in the office that did the chart beat column, Fred Bronson, who did the Billboard Book of #1 Hits. Which is on the singles, which is very successful. I don't think it's Billboard Books. I don't think exists anymore, but Fred did several editions of that. So I thought, hey, maybe I can do like the Billboard Book of Modern Rock Hits, and there weren't that many. The chart wasn't that old. And then I thought, okay, Album Rock Hits, and that chart wasn't that old either. So I think I ended up with albums. It was, wasn't too hard to pitch, and it was a lot of work.
Because you started in the
line of information.
Yeah, started Elvis, right?
Yeah, I started at the beginning of the rock era. So I started with Elvis Presley as the first album, and then I went from there. And there's lots of weird, bizarre albums in there that I had no idea that what I was getting into. I think when I started,
and I do believe you made a promise to listen to each and every one of those albums.
I listened to them. I might have. I mean, I did try to actually get each one. So, because a lot of them you couldn't, I don't know if it might have been sort of pre-internet or very early internet, but with a lot of the albums, it was hard to find information on. So, I really needed those albums because a lot of those older albums do have liner notes on the back. So that provided me some information so I could fill out the 500-word entry.
For our younger audience, this is how we used to go about getting information.
Yeah, exactly.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Well, that was the brilliant thing were the credits. That's how we knew the players, not just the band members, but, the producers and the, engineers and the background players and a lot of musicians. And I'm sure that's, what led you to a lot of these interviews was to look at those credits to find these people.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I had, just friends at record companies, or they would, I would ask about someone. Somehow I ended up with this one guy who was a record executive at Decca Records, who I think I interviewed about a few records, at least a few. And I don't think I knew it at the time, but I learned later. It's Billy Crystal's uncle. And it's this guy named Milt Gabler. He's probably, I don't know if he's still alive. He probably isn't, I'm guessing, because he was old back then. But at one point, I don't know what album we were discussing, but it's one of my favorite things ever. I asked him a question, and he said something, "You know nothing about the music industry." It was so great. And it was sort of like a running joke with the publicist that hooked me up with him. I think Bob Bernstein, who used to work for Capitol EMI, hooked me up with good old Milty.
Oh, that's awesome.
Uncle Milty.
Can we just go over Craig's credentials?
Go right ahead.
No,
you got it.
You have. You were sort of reading his bio, but you were. You say you worked for Billboard, but you were the West Coast bureau chief.
Yes, eventually I started covering radio.
Yeah, looking at his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
But no, okay. So you started probably journalism. You got interested in.
Yeah.
Did that started in high school, or is it started in college? Or?
Yeah, actually, I think it started in like 6th grade. I might have my Mrs. Mina. At Gledhill. Oh. Wow, this is going to be long. I thought it was going to be short, but no, she said something that I think at that time I wanted to be a sports announcer, and I think like Howard Cosell. My brother and I pretended we were Howard Cosell, and I was obsessed with Jimmy J.J. Walker on Good Times.
Good choice.
Yeah, I had the orange shirt with the iron on that kids wore that back then.
Dynamite.
Exactly. That was it. That was I did the Dynamite.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I love that. But that you know what I mean, that makes me happy when I could look back at that. That shows like I was down with like black culture even in 6th grade. So I wasn't like, too much of a white boy. Although I am, white suburban boy.
Growing up in the San Fernando Valley.
Exactly. But in high school, well, I grew up reading Robert Hilburn in the LA Times and, listening to Casey Kasem on the radio and, KHJ, then, KMET, KROQ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that sort of thing. In high school, I was on the newspaper and the swim team, so I wasn't really part of the newspaper class because it was in the morning while I was in the pool, but I did my own thing. And I reviewed an Adam and the Ants record, Kings of the Wild Frontier.
Did you give it a good review?
I did. I was an ant person. I was down with Adam, yeah. And from there, I sent that out to a few people, in
high school?
Yeah.
Okay,
I sent
cool.
it out to Robert Hilburn, who answered, and he's like, but how does it compare to Springsteen and Costello and stuff like that? I still have this.
Is that what he wrote back?
Yeah, I have this letter somewhere. And then this guy from Trouser Press, who was a real a-hole, Scott Isler, which is weird because...
Still remembers these names?
Yeah, I used to have this one taped on my wall. It was sort of inspiration. But the weird thing is I would later become friends with Dave Schultz, who also worked at Trouser Press, and then Ira Robbins would later become my boss. But they worked with this guy, Scott Isler. But anyway, Scott wrote that it's probably verbatim of what it says. It's scarred in my brain. Your Ants review is filled with try observations and colorless description. As any good English teacher will tell you, good writing stems from good thinking or something like that. That's pretty much it. So,
where is he now?
I don't know. Yeah, DOA. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's probably alive. I don't know. I've never met him. He could be a perfectly nice guy, and I probably deserved it. So. Whatever.
Maybe he's working at Foster's Donuts.
Yeah.
But always alive in your minds.
Yeah. But someone else that did answer, and I can't remember the name of the person, but someone from Action Now magazine answered the letter, and they said I could write for them. And Action Now was a skateboarder magazine. And when skateboarding started to fade out a little bit in the early 80s, they changed their name to Action Now and started to include surfing and BMX and everything to make it a little broader. So
Smart.
I wrote record reviews for them, and I actually got paid. And that was when I was in high school. So I was kind of hooked on that. And then once I discovered I could get free records.
So it wasn't...
it was all over. Yes. And then,
records.
And then when I started at Cal State Northridge, I went right up to the journalism office and said, hey, I've already been published. I want to write for you, and did that.
And what'd they say?
They said, yeah.
What did this 18-year-old kid say to you?
Yeah, it was the publisher. Actually, there was, it's kind of embarrassing, but I don't mind embarrassing myself. I think in the Jam review, I meant to use the word cohorts. Yeah, but I spelled it cohorts. And the publisher of the Sundial said, "Ooh, well, that's a nice pun there," but it wasn't really intended. I wasn't intended to be a pun. I was just an idiot.
But you played it off.
Go with it.
Played it off.
I just probably. I don't know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm so clever.
I probably said that. I don't know.
It's a fine line between clever and stupid. And you meant it.
I've been walking it all my life.
All right. Oh, Holly.
You have to go to the bathroom.
We got to pay some bills, and we need to go to the bathroom and take care of business every day.
I read the book.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be right back. All right, all done with donuts?
Do I have to? You can talk now, and I'll keep eating.
All right, let's get back with our conversation with Craig Rosen. So, were you music critic for 4 years at Cal State Northridge Sundial?
I eventually became. I did that for a while. I eventually became the entertainment editor, and so I could basically do what I want. But that's when I first wrote about R.E.M. and I wrote about the Psychedelic Furs and the Dream Syndicate. It was. Yeah, I think my first interview was with Stan Ridgway of Wall of Voodoo, But that really didn't get that much play, and I think I reviewed a Cramps concert, but eventually they got, I had the full features and headlines.
How was that
and
first
more free records?
Yeah. How was that first interview?
I think
was Stan good?
It was okay. Yeah, he was all right. And I think I did, it's weird. I interviewed at one point pretty early on, I interviewed Fishbone, but I never wrote it up because it was like close to finals and the end of the semester. So I'm sure I have it on a cassette somewhere. Yeah, but I don't know if I might have missed the moment by like 20 years, unless they do the big.
They went to my high school.
Fishbone reunion. Yeah, Angelo. Yeah, those guys were Valley guys. So,
Downtown boys.
El Camino.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Did you worked at the radio station too, as well, right? This was back in the day, because I remember listening. It was what was it? Classical music during the mornings and news, but then they had the rock shift was, I believe it was from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. The perfect graveyard shift type hours. Did you?
Yeah, I was on the rock shift, and I think it was like Saturday night from like 2 to like 6 or something.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
when
great.
the party gets started.
It was a lot of fun. And speaking of donuts, there was a guy that called in, a maniac.
Oh,
this guy
between 2 and 6 a.m. That's crazy.
Yeah, he worked in a donut shop. Mike from Blinky's Donuts. Yeah.
Yes, I know Blinky's.
We recently reconnected on Facebook somehow. But the thing is, he would call in. He was an incredible Iggy Pop fan, and he would call in and, to request something, but he would just like, Iggy! Iggy! And the funniest thing, I had never met him before, but I went and saw Iggy at the Whiskey, and all of a sudden I hear, Iggy! And I'm like, head towards that sound. And I'm like, are you Mike from Blinky's Donuts? And it was him.
Okay, that's such a trip.
That's great.
Yeah, his name is actually Mike Butler, I believe. He's on Facebook.
Shout out to Mike.
Butler.
He reminded me of a Cramps concert that I forgot about that apparently I attended. That was at the Universal Amphitheater.
How can you forget about the Cramps?
Well, I had seen them a lot, but I didn't remember that one.
They must have been opening up for someone.
No. It was a Halloween show. They were headliners.
Really?
Yeah.
They were that big? Because Universal was like 8,000 people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they headlined. He posted the poster, the playbill or whatever, those things that they used to put on the telephone poles.
Yeah.
Around town.
Bills. Post no bills.
Yeah.
Did you do that shift for a while? And
it was a couple years, I suppose.
Did you like it?
I did. I loved it. I mean, I played.
Obviously, you have to love it if you're doing 2 to 6 shift.
Yeah, I played.
6 a.m.
I played like R.E.M. and Big Star and Velvet Underground and Hoodoo Gurus, and I've probably got at least one show on cassette. And I also, this is kind of funny because Holly worked for Westwood when I also attempted to make my own radio show out of a Beastie Boys interview I did for BAM magazine, and I tried to cut it into a show. I don't know how that came off, but
did you pitch it?
No, I ran it on KCSN. I it was just it was an in-person but interview with on a cassette recorder.
How was that interview? Actually,
it was rough. Those guys were real. I mean, I loved them, but they were real a-holes pretty much every time I've interviewed them.
I think they'll always admit that.
That interview was actually before License to Ill came out, and I don't think I had even really heard them. This guy, Glenn E. Friedman, who's a pretty famous punk rock, skateboard, and hip-hop photographer. I think he's got a few books out there, but he's a really great photographer. And somehow through, Action Now, Skateboarder, he got my name, and somehow somebody called me and said, hey, do you want to interview the Beastie Boys? They're in town, they're opening for Madonna. But that was before License to Ill came out.
That was 85.
I don't know the exact year, but could be. Okay. Yeah. Like a Virgin tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
84. 84. It was 84, 85.
Yeah. They played it was at the Universal Amphitheater. I didn't go to the show, but they gave me, when I did the interview, they gave me the Rock Hard single, the 12-inch, which is the one that samples AC/DC.
I believe, yeah, I'm almost positive Rock Shift was where I first heard the Beastie Boys. I don't know if it was She's On It or Rock Hard or something.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it and then probably calling you and saying, hey, can you play some Beastie Boys?
Beastie Boys!
Well, I had no idea.
I went back and got Cookie Puss, of course. I think parts of that interview are in that book for License to Ill, because one of them, I can't remember who said it, but they, I asked them about, if they wanted to play instruments or, that was
because you didn't know.
Yeah, that was a big thing that, people, I don't know if I knew about the hardcore thing. I might have, but, the difference between like hip hop and punk rock, and there are a lot of similarities, but it might have been Mike D or Ad Rock. One of them said, hey, when we can afford instruments and amps like AC/DC, then we'll play instruments. And they sort of did.
And they did, yeah. Came true.
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer is out for their Apple? They have a documentary coming out in April. Yeah. That's going to be amazing.
I haven't seen it, but I listened to the audiobook, and I loved it. And
audiobook is great, but I'm sure it's not as good as your special.
Yeah. Who knows?
You should find that.
I have it I have it somewhere, but the funny thing about the Ultimate Revenge of the Beastie Boys is when I was at Billboard, they had Grand Royal had a golf tournament at the little Los Feliz par 3 one day to just celebrate. And my friends and I, Dave Schultz and John Gwynn, who worked at Billboard, we were a threesome that entered the tournament, and we ended up tying Mike D, a team of Mike D and Gary Gersh, who was then the president of Capitol Records. I don't know who the other guy was or other two. And in a putt-off, we won. So we have the first place Grand Royal Golf Tournament trophy. John Gwynn has it now. I had it for probably like 20 years, but we have to rotate custody to the
And Mike D was a gracious loser, right?
Yes, he accused us in a Rolling Stone interview of cheating. So... And at one point when I was at Billboard, we called him. John Gwynn wanted to call him up, and we put him on speakerphone or tried to get him. And we were like, "Come on, man, we'll do a rematch. You called us cheaters. Let's do it. Let's do it." It never happened, but oh well. It's a good story.
Belated congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I actually played like crap that day. Those guys held me up. So.
Did you tell Mike D? I played like crap and I still beat you.
Yeah. Teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice. All right. So you graduate college, I guess. Did you graduate?
I did.
Congratulations.
I did eventually. Yeah.
Okay. And so where do we go from there?
Well,
what are you going to do with your life?
What are you going to do with your life, kid? In college, I did a few I got a job at the Daily News.
That's the San Fernando Valley paper.
Yeah, once known as like the Green Sheet.
The Valley News and Green Sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when I worked there, it was the LA Daily News, and it was owned by Jack Kent Cooke of the Fabulous Forum and Lakers and Kings fame. And Washington Redskins fame. He owned that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an editorial assistant, and I of course I was, let me do a record review or whatever. So I did a few there and did a little writing there. And then I eventually got an internship at the LA Times, and I did some stuff for them. And then when I graduated, I got hired at the Daily News. First, I guess I was an intern, and then this guy named Martin Boo, who was the radio columnist, one day he really got frustrated when his precious copy was edited. And one day I saw him walk into the managing editor's office, and he quit. So I replaced Martin Boo as the radio columnist, and then eventually the rock critic left. And, that's what, radio was just, okay, yeah, I'll do that if
Stepping stone.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, now I sort of work radio adjacent as a full-time job, but, it's something that's there, but it's not, it's fine. It's all right, but...
People do lump music and radio together, though.
Yeah, it's all about the music. That's what it is, basically. But while they were between rock critics, I got to go to San Diego to review the U2 Joshua Tree tour. I wanted to actually do an interview, but Bono only spoke to Hilburn,
Yeah.
And I had my almost famous moment years before Almost Famous at the San Diego Sports Arena where a lot of that movie was filmed. We got there, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, I drove my Karmann Ghia out there to San Diego. And we left plenty early so we'd be there in time. So we were just kind of hanging out, and I see, there's a big crowd like at the ramp, the load-in ramp, and Adam Clayton comes out there and he's signing autographs. So, ambitious young Craig goes over and tries to ask Adam some questions, and he's like, "No interviews, mate." It's like, F you, Adam. But I did end up doing some lame story. I interviewed the road manager backstage. I'm sure it was
just as good.
I'm sure it was awful, but that was my access. So I did review the show.
So that was a #1 album. Joshua Tree. So who'd you talk to about that album?
I ended up talking to Adam later on the telephone. He was a wonderful chap.
Did you remind him that he blew you off when you tried to ask him a question?
I don't remember. I don't think so. But maybe
probably
I
for the
did.
best.
I don't know.
Probably near the end of the interview. That would have been a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, by the way, you're an asshole. Bye.
You were an asshole. Maybe not now.
You still are. I hold grudges. No.
I've noticed that about Craig. Yeah. He likes,
once an asshole, always an asshole.
And I like that you're calling them out.
Yeah.
By name.
Yeah.
So
I just thought of something.
Go ahead.
Blurt it out.
Give you guys the exclusive. I've never talked about this on a podcast before.
Do we have exclusive
or on
music
radio?
Yeah.
To intro this exclusive.
This is breaking news.
This is big. At one point, when I worked at Billboard, I had to do a story about a certain record label that the guy that ran the label was about to leave the label, and they had enjoyed incredible success with Nirvana, Aerosmith, and the Eagles. I think you know who it is.
Okay.
I'm not going to say his name, though.
Okay.
Way to keep it under wraps.
Yeah. But it was the worst.
Can you give me the initials of the label?
Maybe the worst or best interview experience I ever had. Okay. And it happened. There was a sequel because it didn't go well the first time. I asked, they put out the way maybe record executives think the trade press works is actually there's a famous quote from someone, and I don't know who said it, maybe Hunter Thompson or something, that the trade press are lapdogs to the industry, which might be true, but some of us maybe had higher aspirations or whatever. This label was going through a transition. They had incredible success with those three artists that I mentioned, the Eagles, with those three acts that I just mentioned, but all those artists, Kurt Cobain was dead, unfortunately. Aerosmith was headed back to Columbia, and the Eagles it was kind of a one-off. So, okay, Mr. Famous Record Executive Legend. Okay, congratulations on everything. But what about the future? All your biggest artists are gone. You're leaving too, which leaves a lot of questions. And he did not take well to that. The phone kind of melted. He just goes off on this rant. He's like, "You were going to ask me about Kurt Cobain. How dare you? And you want to know about the Eagles? I'll tell you about the Eagles. They're a bunch of ungrateful fucking drug addicts." I'm not saying that. That guy said it. And hopefully this podcast won't be removed forever. We'll never work in this town again. I do still have the tape on cassette. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You said there was a follow-up, though.
Yeah. Well, after the interview, I really don't feel, I talked to the publicist again. I really don't feel good about how things went. And she said, well, either does he. Let's reschedule. Let's try it again tomorrow. So we get back on the phone and I say, hey, I got to say, I don't really think anything I asked you yesterday was out of line. And he just started again.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was weird. I mean, I guess, some people might do business that way. And, some of those guys, Irving Azoff would always call me like sweetheart on the phone or whatever. And that was okay. That's all right. And this other guy, Phil Corderero. He's a little guy.
Virgin.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Phil Q. He was kind of weird. He was like, top down, chicken out, choke the chicken. It's like, what the hell? What the hell are you talking about,
What does
Phil?
that mean?
It's you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm better off not knowing.
Yeah.
Think about the English.
Yeah. Save it for later.
Yeah. But I mean, it must have been tough, especially with Billboard, because like you kind of mentioned with Hunter, Billboard's kind of there to talk about their industry and keep everyone happy because these labels are paying all the, paying the bills for the most part for ads and things and promotion. So it was kind of like a symbiotic relationship or what? I mean, but if you wanted to say something critical, did you have that freedom? Or?
Yeah, we did. And there was a place for it. It depended on the time and who was in charge. Things really changed when Timothy White became editor-in-chief, and he was famous from the Westwood One show, Timothy White's Rock Stars. Yeah, it's funny. I wrote about him, and I think I wrote about his show before he became editor, and I think he took a liking to me, but it didn't last long. No, it didn't last too long, but it lasted for a while. But anyway, yeah, he was the one that promoted me to bureau chief after Dave DiMartino left to go to Entertainment Weekly. And shout out to Dave. He's, we're still good friends. And he was involved in hiring me at Billboard, and then he hired me at Launch, which became Yahoo Music. And he got me the R.E.M. book deal. So, yeah, he was very influential in my life. So thank you. Thank you, Dave. And thank you too, Dave.
Oh, well, thank you.
Another Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
But you were about Timothy White. I want to say,
go ahead.
Yeah, there was a real that might have been my downfall. He did not like gangster rap. He really had a strong opinion about that. And I mean, I understood his misgivings and everything, but he really ruled with like an iron fist, and he thought we shouldn't cover that stuff at all, which I thought was ridiculous at a time when like Death Row was having #1 albums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were, the biggest label in the music business at the time. How can we just ignore them? Mm-hmm. So we kind of butted heads over that. And I remember one time the news editor, this guy named Ken Terry, and I went to a meeting at Jimmy Iovine's office. And Jimmy was in there like straddling the arm of the couch. I don't know why I remember, he remembers certain like weird things, but he's like, yeah, your editor has a hard on for me. And it's like it just put me in an uncomfortable position because I really didn't know what to say. I mean, what do you say to that? But I didn't agree with that approach. I mean, I thought if you don't like the records, write it in your Music to My Ears column or a commentary or something. But for God's sake, we have to like cover this label or these huge albums.
It's
can't
credibility.
Just ignore them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. So
unless he thought it was going to be a quickly passing phase of music.
Yeah. Remember,
they're never wrong. The music industry people are never wrong.
Remember when hip hop was popular?
Yeah.
Oh, way back when.
Yeah.
The old saying is, you should never meet your idols. But I'm sure you had the opportunity to meet a few of them.
Yeah, I did. And most of them are nice. I mean, most of them are all right. A funny story, when I was an intern at the Times, I did a story on when the Velvet Underground VU record came out. That was in the mid-'80s sometime. I think I pretty much discovered the Velvet Underground through R.E.M., of course. All roads lead to R.E.M.
Same.
Here too with Dave.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I had probably heard Walk on the Wild Side, I'm sure I had before, but, really didn't know, like, all the Velvet Underground stuff till they covered Pale Blue Eyes and Femme Fatale and stuff like that. So anyway, they were putting that VU record out, and I pitched it as a story for the LA Times, and I was looking for people to talk to. I talked to Sterling Morrison, who was the guitar player, and at that time I think he was a professor of English, I think in Austin or Texas somewhere. But yeah, he was a bright guy. He's since passed away, but he was a nice guy. Talked to him on the phone, and I put in the request for Lou Reed He was on tour at the time, and I think in Australia or something. So I really didn't think it was going to happen, and I heard he was kind of an a-hole and a difficult interview. So, I had the story written. I think I might have, had Sterling, and I probably quoted Peter Buck talking about their influence. Of course, all roads lead to R.E.M. once again. Anyway, I turned the story in one night. I'm still living at my parents' house, but I had my own telephone because that's the way I rolled.
With cord?
Yeah, landline. It was brown. It was one of those modern ones. So
was it a football phone or was it a Princess?
No, it was maybe it was a Princess, but it was brown. Was it? No, it was sleek. It was like that kind of modern 70s.
Was that the Princess phone?
Was that called a Princess? When I think of a Princess phone, I think of one of those antique-y looking ones.
Oh, no.
that are pink, with that like handle. And
I had a big button phone.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh. But anyway, one night, late at night, the phone rings. Collect call from Australia from Lou Reed.
Collect.
Nice. Yeah.
You're being punked.
Yeah, no, it was real, but I was like shocked. I wasn't prepared. Oh. And I had turned the story in already. So I said, I did not accept the collect call. I said, tell him sorry. Yeah, the story's already in. But thank you.
Wow.
And that was my Lou Reed interview.
Get out.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Did you ever interview him after?
No.
Plus, you were.
I saw him before.
I understand you're living at home, and so you couldn't afford.
I had to pay that bill.
That would have been $100 or so.
That would have, and I really wasn't prepared. I really, I kind of froze. I think I kind of panicked.
You did panic.
Yeah,
that's clearly. I will
rejecting a call from Lou Reed.
Yeah,
a similar, well, not quite, but sort of similar. For the Billboard Book of #1 albums, Johnny Cash. I get him on the phone at that point. When I did interviews in my office at Billboard, I just used the speakerphone and I recorded it. And I didn't know this at the time, but, okay, hi, Mr. Cash. Hi, Johnny. Am I on speakerphone? Yes. And I don't want to be on speakerphone.
Yeah.
So the man in black, when the man in black speaks, I had to take him off speakerphone. Luckily, I got in the habit of typing when I did interviews, so I did the interview. I probably have tape of Johnny telling me to take him off speakerphone, but the interview is only me asking questions, and you can't hear his answers.
Okay, that's a bummer. Wow, the funny things that aren't like.
Yeah,
you could have reassured him that nobody else was in the room.
Yeah, I could have, but I didn't think of that. Thanks. Can I go
20,
back and
30 years too late?
Yeah, the door. Yeah, it's okay, Johnny. The door is closed. No one will hear.
Yeah.
We're alone. Tell me anything you want.
Yeah.
Tell me about Save It for Later.
He was a Valley boy, or he lived in the Valley for a little bit on Havenhurst.
Oh wow!
I read Hilburn's book, and he actually published the actual address, so I went to go visit it.
Johnny Cash?
Yeah, he lived on Havenhurst, like by Michael Jackson's area.
Oh, okay.
So south.
Yeah, of course, south of the Boulevard.
You know who else? And I heard you guys mention him, and I thought of this today. I was listening to one of your previous episodes. Dave Stewart lived around there, too.
Oh, okay.
I interviewed him once at his house. He was a really nice guy. I got there, and he was like getting out of the bathtub. He was bathing one of his children, and he was like in a bathrobe, and his hair was all messed up and wet. It wasn't like a Charlie Rose or Harvey Weinstein thing.
Yeah,
it was all innocent.
You're just comparing the situations.
He was a perfectly nice guy. Yeah, he was very, very nice.
So our discussion with Craig Rosen is far from done, but we're going to have to end this episode eventually. So let's just cut it off here, and we will return at another time. Until next week, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.